Meeple Talk! Hello everyone, and this is another episode of Meeple Talk. My name is Stephanie.
And I'm Adam.
And this week we're going to be doing another one of our Gen Con, favorite reviews that we were looking forward to and super excited about. So this one is called Trickerion.
And it's by Mind Clash Games.
As well as 8 Games.
Yes. I had to say that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Flavor. So generally, as you can see, this is a huge game in illustration and components and everything. Generally what the idea behind the theme of it. We're looking at sort of what I'm assuming are going to be early 1900s, sort of alternate reality setting. And you've got the city of Megoria. And at one time, Dalgard the Great, he was this master illusionist who also was caretaker of the city. And one day he finally just vanishes. At the end of one of his performances, he's gone. Everyone suspects he probably died. And then decades later, the city starts to go into decline. And you have some illusionists going around trying to, do their thing. And then all of a sudden one day, these invitations start getting handed out. And these illusionists realize, oh wait, Dalgard might actually still be alive. And they're invited to perform over a course of 5 weeks their best illusions. And so what happens if someone actually wins and they become the master or grand illusionist, they will inherit the Trickerion stone, which affords them extra powers and abilities.
Supernatural powers,
exactly.
Yes.
And then they will then succeed at Dalgar and then just control the city from that point. So everyone's going to be playing and competing in order to get that fame, in order to create that master illusion status.
Yes.
Yeah.
So one thing to keep in mind as we describe the game is this is a heavy game. It's not a light strategy game. You can see all the components. It takes a while to set up. It is very intricate. So if you like heavy games, you'll definitely going to be interested in this game. But it is like 2 to 2.5 hours for the expansion. They do have a basic game as well. It's about an hour and a half.
On the other side.
So we're going to move right into describing the game, and then we'll give you our opinions.
So let's have a look at the board. Okay, so what you're going to notice in our first review of the board is that we're going to start off board. So right here, every player is going to have their own particular placard, and this is where their particular illusionist is going to be working with the help of either a specialist that they're going to hire, also maybe some assistance as well. So we're going to start with different worker tokens depending on your particular starting choices. You are also going to have your areas where your tricks are going to be worked on. So you're going to hopefully load these tricks with these trick markers. And also, in order to do so, every card is going to indicate what type of resources they're going to need to do that. And this is where you're going to be collecting them. If we come to this area here, so the different types of trick components is going to be represented by these particular tiles. Your various trick markers, workers that you'll have to hopefully gain. The money that you'll hope to collect as well, because you're going to pay people later. And also these shards, which you'll collect along the way, which will give you certain bonuses, whether it's for the actions you can perform or the cost for certain things that you're going to be using. Now, where does this all happen? We're going to go to the master board. So it's a big one here, but they're divided by zones. So we've got the downtown. This is where, if you need to, you're going to be collecting extra money because you're going to be needing that throughout the game. You want to learn more tricks as time goes on. The higher the or more advanced trick is, the better the points or fame markers you're going to, or fame points you're going to get. Also, when you're hiring workers, this is where you're going to go to get them as well. And for the components, this is where Market Row comes into play. So you might have some immediately available for quick buy or ordering later. The basic game, if we go to Dark Alley, this is something that only the advanced version of the game is going to employ. You've got your advanced assignment cards that you might want to collect as well. Every round is going to have a certain prophecy that's going to come up, and it's going to change how a particular mechanic is going to function for that round for everyone. Finally, the Master Theater. You've got little side theaters here that you're going to be loading and preparing your tricks, hopefully to perform. Depending on the night of the week, you'll get certain advantages for those. And then finally, well, what's the point of all of it? Well, you want to get fame. And that's what the audience or the points tracker is going to indicate here. So the more fame you get, the higher you're going to advance on the marker. And hopefully at the end of it, whoever has the most fame wins.
So let's walk through a single turn and see how the game works. This shard indicates the first turn, so that will move on each turn. And at the beginning of each turn, the players in initiative order first here, they can advertise by putting their cards here to gain some additional fame. And then, secondly, they will bring out their assignment cards, and every player has their own deck, and they will assign their characters to go to different places on the board. This will be done, they'll be flipped down in the actual game, and then once they've made their assignments, they will flip them all up. And then again, based on initiative order, players will then take their character tokens and place them to different places on the board and take those actions. And you'll see there's action points on the actual tokens there, and that will be combined with additional bonuses depending on who is first. And players who get there first get more points. So players will then go around, again in initiative order, playing their characters one at a time and getting whatever, doing whatever actions they can do in the different areas of the board. And finally, the second to last phase is the performance phase. Now, if there are any magicians who, you'll see a magician here on the Sunday performance. There's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And each of those performances will then take place in order. And players the magicians can score all of their different tricks that are happening on that particular card. And finally, you'll pay wages to your various characters at the end of that round, and then the round marker will be moved to the next slot. Once you come to the 7th round, this is in the advanced game. The basic game only has 5 rounds. Then players will score all of the rest of their points and find out who has the most fame, and that is the player who wins. Okay, so on to opinions for this game. So first of all, I think the artwork in this game was super well done. Everything blends well together. It's very evocative of the theme. Just the character cards. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, that was the one thing that really drew me when I saw this at the Gen Con demos there. It was like, wow, this is
Yeah,
rich.
and me as well. This is it raises the bar for game art as far as I'm concerned. It's art. It's beyond just, art. It's
I just think, too, it's got the right amount of, for the time, the colors work, the characters work. I mean, it's not the most perfect clean lines. It's got that right amount of scuff, it's just it looks like the art, style of around then. And so I think it's great.
Yeah, so they did a fabulous job with that. Now, in terms of the gameplay, we consider a big difference between the basic game and the expansion. Now, the expansion is part of the box. You don't have to buy a separate expansion. It's basically the Dark Alley and some extra abilities for some of the characters. And it's 2 turns longer. And that doesn't seem like much, but it's a really big deal for us. So when we play the basic game, it's only got 5 rounds, and this is the sort of game where there's certain things you have to do before you can do other things. You have to start by getting the components for your tricks, and then you have to load those tricks in your workshop, and then you have to put some of your characters into the performance theater, especially your magician, in order to perform those tricks. And so that takes a few turns to get going. And by the time you get to the 5th round, you feel like, well, I've just started to get going. I've done a couple performances, and now it's over. So that's one criticism. It seems as if the basic game is either like a kind of like the first time you play to learn the game sort of thing. Or else it was designed to make a shorter version of the game. But I feel like it wasn't successful because it really just feels like you can't do anything useful. You can't get anything going. The second thing about the basic game is that the game is very much based on initiative. So the first person to get downtown gets +2 action points. The first person to get to the marketplace gets +2 action points. So, and every area is the same way. Whoever gets there first is, gets to do more stuff. So that's very important. So it's almost like you want to be in last place for most of the game, because the last place person in each turn will get to be first when players are playing out the characters. So I found that sameness of each individual area made the game, very flat, and maybe at some point, a little bit boring. But when you bring in the expansion with the 7 turns, and especially the Dark Alley, where you have all of these different cards, they give you special abilities that you can use, on a one-time basis or whatever. And also, the prophecy area affects everybody. Certain gameplay rules that maybe will constrict what you do in the theater or elsewhere, or maybe give you special bonuses. So that really opens up the game in terms of there's a lot more variability, more interesting things that you can do. And so I really liked the expansion much more than the basic game. You feel like also that you can load up some tricks, and then you can perform, and then you can upgrade your tricks and then do some more performances, and you feel like you can really do a lot in the game. So I would say if you're going to play this game, move to the expansion as quickly as possible, because the expansion is definitely the better game. And but I think it does suffer in one way with the level of sameness in terms of what you can do, even with the Dark Alley.
Yeah, and I would say too is that I have, just like Adam, differing opinions between the two different sides. So on the beginning side, one of the I find very limiting results of having very few turns is that even though you have a lot of choices ahead of you when it comes to what tricks you want to learn, or maybe how fast or how slow you want to order your components in the market row, or even what stages you want to perform at, I feel like it's the type of game that starts to play itself for you in a very determined fashion, because some of the choices you're really not going to exercise at certain times anymore. You're going to learn that, this is probably the pattern you're going to need to follow. So I agree. If it's just learning how the game works, go with that at first, but then go on to the next side. Now, the next side, you really have that opportunity to see all the different components, all the mechanics that you have really start to shape itself out. You can actually decide to see now it's worth it to either make a quick order or slow order decision, because maybe the cost to do so you would be able to save and use on a different component in this round and save it for later. So you might be able to do more with the resources that you have. So it's very freeing in that way. The issue that I have really is just, it has to do with the rewarding of the effort that you put into the game, because this is a heavier strategy game, whether you consider it medium or heavy. For a game like this, where you have a lot of things that you need to focus on and a lot of decisions that you have to make, where turn order counts a lot, positioning and the expenditure of your action points is going to account for a lot, and also even when you perform in a certain night, there's got to be something that rewards you for those decisions and the risks that you then take on to perform those different functions. I find that, for example, in the theater, everyone's got trick markers loaded up, ready to go. And it doesn't matter which card gets performed if you're the magician or not, in a sense that we do a lot of scoring with anyone who has their trick marker on that particular performance. Being the magician themselves for that particular trick, the level of reward you get for the night of the week doesn't really get you that much more in the way of fame points. So it's almost like, well, what's the point of being the magician? He could have been, used elsewhere for a much greater effect. Also, too, when it comes to, aside from the strategy, when it comes to the randomness of the game, that's where the Dark Alley really comes into play. The bonus assignment cards that you get, as well as the prophecies, they could be very, very interesting and get you a lot of points for using these types of cards, or even the type of challenges and the mechanics that change could really severely impact or maybe greatly enhance the end results and the types of fame points that you get. But the margin of that is so much larger than the actual heavy decision component part of the game. So it's almost like the random element is way more varying and has a greater impact on your end result than the effort component of it. And so that's really where you fall into a situation of thinking or really considering, what's the point of doing all this, right? And that's where I think, as excited I was about this game, this was really the element that really kind of made me step back a bit from it. And that's really what took away a bit from my enjoyment, is the overall reward for effort. But I would say though, I mean, if the decision-making function is all what you're after, the words with themselves, whatever, I mean, that would be absolutely fine for you if that doesn't really bother you, if you like just the tinkering. And so for this, I would say, you know what? If you want, explore it. Give it a try. It's definitely worth having a second look. So, but for us, it just wasn't one that
I think
that grabbed me in the end.
Yeah, I think our overall opinion was kind of like, meh. Yeah. I mean, we had big expectations, but overall, I feel like it didn't really rise to the level of our original enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Exactly.
So that's our review.
Yeah.
We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.
Exactly. See you later.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.